Both Ukraine and Russia are struggling to maintain the size of their armies. Ukraine is running a campaign telling citizens to overcome their fear and enlist, and has cracked down on bribes paid to avoid deployment. Meanwhile, Moscow has boosted the salaries paid to soldiers since the start of its invasion. They now earn 3 times the average wage, with bonuses for capturing territory. But how lucrative is a career in Putin's army?
Летают снаряды, стрелкотня и полностью.
Can you earn big money by going to the front? In Russia, this is exactly how new soldiers are being recruited. In his last address to the nation, Russian President Vladimir Putin tried hard to make the war look more attractive to potential soldiers.
I propose to create a special state fund. Its task will be to provide assistance to the families of fallen fighters and veterans of the special military operation. It will coordinate the provision of social, medical and psychological support. The most important task of the fund is to organize long-term care at home.
Here is a breakdown in concrete numbers of how much a Russian soldier can earn throughout his service. Upon completion of a 1-year tour of duty, each soldier will receive a one-time payment of around 1,830 euros. Depending on a soldier's military rank and tasks, the monthly salary can vary between 1,910 euro and 2,270 euros. That is over 3 times the average Russian salary. Bonuses are given to encourage more aggressive fighting against the Ukrainian forces and for capturing territory. For each kilometer Russian soldiers advance in Ukraine, they can expect an additional sum of 470 euros. The same goes for the capture or destruction of weapons or military equipment used by the Ukrainian forces. But where there is war, there is of course death.
I understand how unbearably hard it's now for the wives, sons and daughters of fallen soldiers, and for their parents who brought up worthy defenders of the fatherland. It's our duty to support families who have lost relatives, loved ones, to help them raise their children, give them an education and a profession.
And to that end, President Putin has increased the death benefits for soldiers killed on the battlefield considerably. According to a decree by Putin, a 47,577 euro payment is made to the families of each fallen soldier. But it's not only money with which the Russian government is trying to recruit new soldiers. There is also an array of social benefits. The Russian Defense Ministry will give financial aid toward the rental or purchase of housing. Soldiers will also get free medical examinations, treatment and physical rehab at military facilities, as well as free health and life insurance, to name just a few benefits. And it's not only the soldiers who profit from being deployed, it is the whole family. Families will receive summer camp vouchers for children, and college-age children will get preferred placement at top Russian universities.
Russia will respond to any challenge, because we are all one country, large and with united people. We have confidence in ourselves, confidence in our strength. The truth is on our side.
As the war against Ukraine continues to grind on, it seems clear that President Putin has no intention of giving up, no matter the human or financial cost. And with an average salary of some 630 euros in Russia, the financial incentives to join the military will be tempting to many people, whatever the risk.
Dr. Jenny Mathers is a senior lecturer in international politics at Aberystwyth University in Wales. Her expertise spans topics including Russian politics and security policy, Russian armed forces, as well as gender issues related to war. Dr. Mathers, welcome to DW. Clearly, lots of money and extraordinary benefits are being promised to Russian fighters for fighting Vladimir Putin's war. What do you make of this?
Well, I think it reflects the fact that money is one of the few incentives that the government in Russia has left, which has proven to be effective at recruiting soldiers. And what we've seen is that when the state puts out the call and asks for more people to come forward and volunteer, that not very much happens until they provide these real kind of more significant financial incentives, a lot of which are appealing to families really in very socioeconomically deprived areas who don't have very many other opportunities for income for the family.
Let's talk about that rather sobering death benefit, a promised payment of nearly 50,000 euros for each fallen soldier. Our Russia correspondent told us earlier that bereaved families don't necessarily receive that money. What have you found?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're finding in research that I'm doing with a colleague about the soldiers' mothers and their families. The defense ministry in Russia is very bad at providing information to families about the whereabouts and the ultimate fate of their sons and husbands and fathers. And so a soldier might be reported killed or reported missing, but then no further information is provided. So it's really down to the families, very often the women in the families, the mothers and the wives, who are trying to network desperately with each other, trying to reach out to sources in Ukraine as well as to official sources in Russia to try and locate the bodies, because without a body to sort of bring forward, they can't possibly get any kind of payments. And so a lot of these promises of payments don't actually materialize in real life.
You know, what's striking about these incentives is that they're aimed at whole families as units. Are there conclusions to be drawn here about the support, or perhaps lack of support, of Russian women in particular for this war?
I think it's a very difficult question for a lot of Russian women whose family members belong to the armed forces, because for them, their livelihoods of their whole families are really tied up with military service. And so for them to come out and condemn the war or condemn the armed forces would put them in an almost impossible situation. So they are complicit, many of them. Some of them actively support the war. Others try not to think about it too much and really focus on their own family's needs and the welfare of the husband or the son or the father who has gone to fight.
As on the Ukrainian side, of course, the deaths of Russian men are mounting week to week. I wonder if you're already observing changes in the makeup of Russian society and the role of women in it.
I think women in Russia have always carried a very heavy burden when it comes to responsibility for the private sector, when it comes to responsibility for what happens within the household, within the home. And I think this doesn't get acknowledged very often by the state. But in fact, it is the women who are really holding things together in civilian society, as more and more of the men are called away to fight or who flee because they don't want to go to the war, or indeed who were killed or seriously injured in the war. It really places more and more of a burden on the shoulders of the women. And I think, you know, it's an important area of Russian society to keep an eye on, because, you know, at what point will the women decide that, you know, enough is enough, or will they reach that point, or will they simply carry on kind of trying to hold everything together?
Our thanks for your time and perspective to Dr. Jenny Mathers, Senior Lecturer in International Politics at Aberystwyth University.